Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvina Vaditamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, may the Divine Being look over us lovingly as a mother and father. May the Divine Being support and nourish us as a mother and father. May we have the strength and skill to study together the art of spirituality. May no misunderstandings arise amongst us. Om, peace. Peace, peace and blessed beneficence be unto us and to all beloved beings everywhere. Well, good morning, everyone. Namaste. Welcome to our open forum on Karma Yoga. Open forum on Karma Yoga. We'll do a little work and then we'll have our discussion in open forum. March is a month for the study of Karma Yoga, a spiritual path leading to the abandonment of selfishness. As a Karma Yogi, you practice offering your actions and their results, as well as your perceptions, thoughts, and feelings to the Divine Presence. In many Ramakrishna Mission centers, this prayer is chanted by the congregation in unison at the end of a puja's homa fire ceremony. This is the chant. No matter what I may have done, said, or thought, in waking, dreaming, or dreamless sleep, with my mind, my tongue, my hands, or my other members, may all that be an offering to Brahman. Even before knowing that divine presence, you hold firmly to the belief that the presence is within each person or other living being that you interact with or serve. Working and abiding in this spirit, you are increasingly able to release attachment to your activities and their results. This yields the freedom and contentment promised by Karma Yoga. And here's that promise. This is from Sri Krishna in the Gita at the end of chapter 2. Even a little practice of this yoga will save you from the terrible wheel of rebirth and death. So indeed, if you wish to be free of that terrible wheel of rebirth and death, it is to your benefit to practice Karma Yoga. That doesn't mean you should. There is no such thing around here as should. But here's a little song about why. Why? This is a Karma Yogi song. Most of us are afraid of this world we've made, with its yes and no's and karma's blows and temptation's parade. We say it's hard and mean, a heart attack machine, but it can't scare me. I'm sticking with the Atman, believing in the Atman, seeking for the Atman. No, it can't scare me. I'm sticking with the Atman, and I shall never die. This Kali Yuga's rough. Each day can be tough. Here's a homeless man in horrible pain. I think I've said enough. I know it's hard and mean, a heart attack machine, but it can't scare me. I'm sticking with the Atman, believing in the Atman, seeking for the Atman. No, it can't scare me. I'm sticking with the Atman, and I shall never die. Some folks are afraid to die. Maybe this is why they never heard these loving words as they were sighed for them. Sure, it's hard and mean, a heart attack machine, but it can't scare you if you're sticking with the Atman, believing in the Atman, seeking for the Atman. No, it won't scare you if you're sticking with the Atman, and you will never die, and I shall never die. No, we shall never die. Om. Amen. Free from the terrible wheel of rebirth and death, or as Jesus said, those who drink from my mouth shall not taste death. So that's a Karma Yogi song.
Brother Shankara, that was
Yes,
great. Thank you.
You're more than welcome to. So just a little preview of what's going to go on this morning, the rest of this morning. Our open forum will begin with a guided meditation. You'll watch your mind as suggestions are given on where to focus your attention. After a few minutes, it will become clear who controls what you think about. We will then discuss this witness awareness and the role it plays in your practice of karma yoga. So, any other comments or concerns or questions about anything that's been said or sung so far before we start the guided meditation? Anything at all from anyone? All right, dears. If you'll just sit relaxedly in your seat and close your eyes and accept these suggestions or not as you wish. The first thing to direct your attention to is the happiest moment you can remember in your life. The very happiest moment you can remember. All right. Now redirect your attention to the most frightened moment you've ever experienced, the most frightened you've ever been. Think, let your mind rest on the most frightened moment you've ever experienced. All right, now if you will think about your earliest childhood memory, that very earliest memory that you can recall of when you were just an infant or a very young child. What is it that you can remember from that time? All right. Now think about a thing that absolutely, in the very recent past, just in the past day or two, absolutely amazed you. Something that came to your attention that absolutely amazed you. Just took your attention and focused it on this amazing, awesome something. Now, if you will, to redirect your attention to the seat you're sitting on and how it feels. What do you experience as you sit there? How does it feel to sit in that seat, that chair, that sofa, wherever you are? All right, if you're staying with this little process, just open your eyes and think about what you've experienced for these last few minutes. Think about the happiest memory, the most frightened, the earliest childhood memory, that which amazed you, how it feels to sit where you're sitting. Okay, if someone feels like it, and of course if no one feels like it, I will answer this question, but from this perspective, what is it that was controlling your attention? What is it that was refocusing your attention from one thing to the next as the suggestion was given? What aspect of yourself was it that was controlling your attention? Anyone at all want to take a shot at it?
May I?
Oh, yes, of course.
Namaste, Brother Shankara. Namaste, everyone.
Namaste.
I don't know. Thank you for helping us to get through that. It was really wonderful going through the memory lane. And I don't know what is the answer, but I would say how I thought about it. I think it came from my heart and somewhat my mind. Sometimes I had to think about what happened, but first my heart and then my mind.
Okay, thank you very much for that answer. Anyone else care to contribute what it was that they believed was controlling their attention as it was directed and then redirected from memory to memory, feeling to feeling.
I'll go.
Yes, Tom.
So that's a great question because I don't know. But it makes me think about how I don't know how my mind works. Yeah, I have no idea. And it's a mystery to me. And it may be something that the human mind can't understand. I don't know, but it's something that I don't understand. So that's my answer.
As always, very forthright and straightforward and refreshing, Tom. Thank you for that.
I'm going with the Saguna Atman.
Okay. To expand on that a little bit, if you would, Glenn.
I'm aware that I'm aware of the seer, so therefore I'm still in a state of duality, but I don't believe that the seer is the body, and therefore it would have to be the Atman.
All right. Thank you. Anything to add to that? Okay. Thank you, Glenn.
Haima,
Yes, Haima.
to me, it was my immediately started thinking, thought process. That's what for me. My thoughts went back to childhood, step by step, everything you guided us. Thank you.
Okay.
Brother Shankara, I
Yes.
just want to share one more thought,
Yes,
as
please.
everyone was saying. I think, like one of the gentlemen said, even scientists don't quite understand how our brains work completely. They have a lot of understanding and how memories are stored. So when I was going through that, there were a lot of memories, especially the childhood ones, they came back. But where that memory was, because it's something that was significant, I guess, in my Atma or heart, whatever we want to call it. So what is fascinating always to me is the science and my belief, my understanding is science and spirituality go together. I am a big fan of astrophysics, the universe, and I see a lot of similarities how we talk about interconnectivity of all human beings, all planet, and the science is saying the same thing, and we're getting more and more evidence to that. Thank you.
Well, thank you, dear. All of that is very relevant, and of course, what the answer must be from karma yoga's perspective cannot defy reason, and therefore could be, if the scientists chose to investigate it. And so far, they're very delicate in their handling of the term consciousness. Although Scientific American has published an article, Is the Universe Pervaded by Consciousness? So they're beginning to deal with it. But the answer from Karma Yoga's perspective is the one that Glenn gave. It is indeed Saguna Atman. The Atman has two aspects. Atman and Brahman are identical. We speak of Atman simply as a matter of convenience to think about the embodiment of the divine presence within ourselves. We call that the Atman. It has these two aspects. Saguna, that is with the gunas, which is also known as Shakti or Maya or Divine Mother, and Nirguna Atman. Nirguna Atman we can say nothing about other than it answers to Satchidananda, absolute knowledge, absolute existence, and absolute bliss or love. But we really don't know anything about what is meant by absolute. We can be in that state, the nirguna atman. We can be in the state of nirvikalpa samadhi, devoutly to be wished, but a far piece from where we are sitting this morning. So let's just talk about this answer that Glenn gave of saguna atman. The atman, the saguna atman, has two aspects: the controller, that which controls your attention. And think of your attention as a searchlight. You turn that searchlight on the suggestion of your happiest moment. Then the searchlight changed to the most frightening moment, and so on. But there is the other aspect, and that is the active witness awareness. The active witness awareness. And we have now turned the searchlight of our controller. That searchlight, we've turned it on to the face of this witness awareness. So we see this witness awareness within ourselves. It was the witness that was watching as our attention changed from one thing to another. It wasn't doing anything. It was simply witnessing. Now, it is in the calm of that witness position that we experience the deep silence when we turn inward through meditation. And Krishna suggests that meditation is very much a part of karma yoga. He says those who want to succeed in karma yoga will practice meditation. Why? Because you become aware of this witness awareness, and this witness awareness then allows you to sink. As you watch your mind, you watch your senses slip away. You no longer are in contact with your senses. You sink below the level of thought into a silence. And within that silence is the wisdom that promotes this true bliss, this true existence, this true knowledge that is spoken of as Satchidananda. So the controller awareness and the witness awareness, the two aspects of Saguna Atman, or Shakti, or Maya, or Divine Mother, as the doer. So with that, I'd like to turn this over to you, an open forum, and any of this that you would like to discuss, or some other aspect of karma yoga, please, what is it that all of this gives rise to in you? What from your own wisdom or experience would you like to contribute? What concern do you have, or what question would you like to raise that the congregation, including myself, can respond to? Anything at all from anyone?
I have a question, brother.
Yes, please.
It seems relevant to me with karma, but how are samskaras carried forth? By what mechanism?
Samskaras are mental impressions. They are carried forward by the fabric of consciousness itself. They are not resident within the brain. They are resident within the mind, which is not within the brain, or it's been proven by scientists, including Pim van Lommel, the Dutch cardiologist turned scientist who researched consciousness. He wrote a book called Consciousness Beyond Life that very clearly proves that these mental impressions, these samskaras, that are part of the fabric of the mind, are not resident in the body. And that's why when people have near-death experiences, they have access to all of their mental impressions. And we're told that this is also one of the three components which transmigrates. If you are born again, this terrible wheel of rebirth and death, if you are reborn, that all of these mental impressions, which go back to the dawn of creation itself, according to Swami Vivekananda, they all come with you. And so that's the best answer from here, Glenn. Anyone else have any answer to that question of where the mental impressions, what they are and where they're resident?
Brother, I don't know this obviously, but I read somewhere, probably a Buddhist text, that, and they believe that action driven by intention, which leads to future consequences. Basically, the amount of intention in any action or any thought or any emotion leads to karma.
Very good. Very good, Rajiv. Thank you. By the way, be a little closer to, you were just intelligible. Please be a little closer to whatever it is that you're speaking into. We'll hear you better.
Brother Shankara?
Yes.
Hariom. This is not a statement, it's a question. I have often pondered over it. You can help me. The first part, as I go at the end of my life, and I'm not evolved to the point that I will not be coming back, I will be transmigrating and coming back. The process of coming back, the Atman that comes back with the new Jiva, what is this? That's not the same Atman. Atman is only one, just one. And
Yes.
Atman is the light from Brahman. So what is that Atman that comes with the new body?
It is the same Atman. There is only one consciousness. As Swami Yogeshananda used to teach you students, consciousness is primary and is not plural. So this, as it's spoken of in the Upanishads, this little blue being the size of a thumb that represents the Atman, it is connected in every dimension, in every way, with all of manifest and unmanifest reality. So that is the Atman. It has nothing to do with you personally. It's not your Atman. It is simply the Atman that, because there is still the desire for embodiment, creates with the mental impressions available to it through the coupling of two human beings, with all of those samskaras that are available to it, it creates a new being, occasionally twins. Identical twins are a fascinating study for any of you who want just a little diversion into studying something interesting, something amazing. Study the lives of identical twins, particularly those that are separated at birth. I won't go into why, but believe me, if you do that, you will find that it is absolutely amazing how identical these identical twins remain. So the stuff of which the new being is made are the samskaras of the momentum coming forward that is represented by the two parents. This is why we have a study of genetics that shows inherited traits and so on. This is science contributing its gifts to the study of how human beings are made. Does that answer your question, Vijay?
Yes, you did very good
Thank you.
explanation. And so the Atman does not really come. It is because Atman, the light, is not taking anything away from Brahman. Brahman is, and the
Oh
light
no,
is,
this
and the
is
light is.
this is why that Purna chant.
Right. That's what I was thinking of. That
Yes.
it's not taking away, nothing is getting smaller or lesser.
No, nothing. It's just we only speak of it. We only speak of it as the Atman as a matter of convenience. There is no such thing as this reality that we're experiencing in an ultimate sense. Otherwise, that too would continue eternally. No, the embodiment aspect of our being comes and goes like all other phenomena. So, but the Atman does not come and go. As Swami Vivekananda says, where would it go? There is only one universe, one consciousness, one divine being. And it does all of these amazing things, including create embodiment and create universe. As Swami Sarvapriyananda told in answer to a question, why does it do this? His answer was simple and definitive and complete. He said, because it can. And there is no other answer possible, he said. And Swami Vivekananda said the same thing in different words. It doesn't even really make sense to ask why Brahman does anything. How can this finite mind understand the infinite cosmic consciousness?
Thank you, Brother Shankara. And the way I see, it's not my Atman or your Atman or someone else's, it's just Atman only, the Atman. It is.
Yes, precisely.
Thank you.
And it has intentions as Saguna Atman. It has intentions and it experiences what we experience and therefore validates it. That's Sri Krishna underlines this in the Gita.
Thank you.
So, okay, let's say, the Atman, we'll think of it as the drop of water in the ocean. And the samskaras and the karma and all go forward. But is it in the next life, is it the same drop of water, or does that drop of water go back into the ocean and then the samskara and the karma and all manifest in a new being with a totally different drop from the ocean?
Well, the faulty part of that metaphor is that it is the drop The Atman is not a drop of the ocean. It is the ocean itself. It's not a drop. It's not a drop of water that appears within the body. It is the entire, this is why when we come to the state of nirvikalpa samadhi, we understand this fully, and those who come back from that state, it's about all that they can say. As Sri Ramakrishna says, water in waves, water still, it's the same water. Water in waves is saguna atman. Water still is nirguna atman, or nirguna Brahman and saguna Brahman. But it's not a drop of water, it's the entire ocean that appears within you. And it's only a matter of convenience to say that it is something separate, or even metaphorize it as this little blue being the size of a thumb that you can actually see. You can actually see that being in the lotus of your heart. But that doesn't mean that it's somehow separate from anything. No. And it's not like a drop of water would be separate from the ocean. It is the ocean itself, but just as it is appearing to you in those moments when you experience it. Thank you, Glenn, for that question, which allowed a very important clarification. The Atman is in no way separate. It's not a drop of water. It is all the water that there is, if we're going to use the metaphor of the ocean of consciousness.
Yeah, which I get that, but when I'm referring to the drop of water, it's still because we're partially stuck in the ephemeral reality, in the duality of it, which is not ultimately the truth.
Well, you say stuck. I won't agree. We're not stuck. We're entranced. We did it to ourselves. We created the enchantment, the spell of Maya. We as the divine being did this. We're no way stuck. We're ever free, but we choose somehow to play this game of embodiment. And that's the reason I use the word game, is that in Sanskrit, the word is lila, play, or game, or sport. We're not stuck. As Holy Mother said, if you want to be free, it can happen in this very moment. Just stop desiring anything at all, and it will be over in that moment, because it is the desires that create the whirlpools, vrittis, within the mind stuff, chitta, that keep us entranced. The moment there are no more vrittis in the mind stuff, as Swami Vivekananda says in his preface to his book Raja Yoga, your universe disappears. So there's no mystery about it. It's just a matter of where do we direct our attention. As we see from the number of people here on the screen, there are a number of people now directing their attention to this little exercise that we're doing now. It doesn't make it very important, but it does make it useful to us. That's why we're here, I assume. And it's glorious that we do this. And we study the art of spirituality together. in this way. So anything else from anyone about any of the things that we've been talking about, or anything else that you'd like to bring up?
Namaste, Brother Shankara. Manjula from Virginia.
Uh-huh.
Just want to share a couple of thoughts. Karma yoga, that's my favorite yoga of all four, my personal opinion for my life, because I'm a very action-oriented person.
Uh-huh.
And the way I am reading Karma Yoga, I read the translation by Eknatheshwaran.
Uh-huh.
It's about selfless service.
Mm-hmm.
And I hear the larger goal is not to reborn. I also feel, from my limited knowledge, please take it that way, is the goal is when we are living, how to live an authentic and somewhat joyful life.
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
Yes. And I get attracted to Karma Yoga for that. I don't really think much. I can only talk about myself, about rebirth or not. I don't know. I don't mind being reborn. I don't know. My goal right now is not to be reborn. My goal is to live authentic, joyful, and helpful life. And selfless service, and like what Krishna says, as you know, I mean, I don't need to tell you, it's all about doing the selfless action and doing your dharma. So I just want to share those thoughts with you.
Thank you, dear. And living this life meaningfully and joyfully. Yes, exactly. We can be free. This is why I said in the beginning, it promises the freedom and contentment, which adds up to joyfulness. If we live, and Sri Krishna is very explicit in describing how to do this. He says, offer everything to me, live sacramentally. Live sacramentally, do everything as worship, offer all that to me. So whatever you do in your interaction with anything else in the world, do it sacramentally, do it as worship. Cut the carrots as worship. Mop the floor as worship. Give yourself to another human being to perform some service or some loving act for them as worship. What is sacrament? A sacrament is the outward manifestation of the inward divinity or grace. If there is only the divine being and only the divine presence, then everything we do is within that context if we direct our attention to that.
Thank you. Thank you. One of my favorite sloka in chapter 3 is 3.8. The English version is, fulfill all your duties. Action is better than inaction. Even to maintain our body, Arjuna, you are obliged to act. Selfish action imprisons the world. Act selflessly without any thought of personal profit. Thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you.
Well, thank you, dear. Perfect. Very nice selection of one of the things that Krishna says about the nature of karma yoga.
Yes.
And our relationship to it. And by the way, that translation by Eknatheshwaran
Yes.
is a very good one.
Thank you.
The one that we use here at this center is Swami Prabhavananda's.
I just got that book.
Swami P's?
Yes, yes. So I'm going to read this too.
Yes, well, you'll find the parallels and some minor divergences, but inconsequential, as Swami Prabhavananda would say, a distinction without a difference.
Is Brother Shankara, Swami Eknatheshwara and Swami Prabhavananda from different time periods?
Yes,
Yes, so I could see, I mean, I haven't read that yet, so, but definitely I wanted to follow this too.
yes, Swami Prabhavananda, my guru, left the body in 1976, very deliberately on the bicentennial of the nation, July 4th, 1976.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else from anyone?
Brother Gaurav here.
Yes, Gaurav.
Um, so it karma yoga, can we say it's pretty much living like, trying to live like a lotus?
Bah, explain.
Like the lotus which grows in the swamps. It's got all this mud around it, but it is clean. Nothing gets to it. So living like that will give us the utmost joy in our lives. That means you're not attaching or you're not getting smeared by any of the material stuff in the world. You enjoy it, you are in it, but you're not attached to it. You're not soaked by it.
Very, very good. Sri Ramakrishna used an even more homely image. The lotus is a beautiful image because it has so many dimensions. Sri Ramakrishna was even more explicit about what it means to live in the world, but not have it stick to you. He said, live as a mudfish.
Yes, yes.
A mudfish lives in the mud. It is amphibious. That is to say, it can breathe both air and water.
Yeah.
And so it lives in the mud, not in the water per se. It can live in the water. It can live not exactly on the dry land because it doesn't have the appendages to move itself on dry land, but it can move through the mud. And so it lives in the mud, but the mud does not stick to its body. It does not get encumbered by the mud through which it moves. And it remains ever clean, even though it is moving through in this slimy, sticky mud of the world, so to speak. So yes, live like a lotus, live like a mudfish. These are metaphors for how to live in the world and not be stuck.
And I feel once you start visualizing it and start doing that in your life, you start getting attached to all these materials that the mother has bestowed on you, and you appreciate her even more. It means, okay, mom, you've given me this, and that I'm happy. Means, but my main happiness is you.
Yes,
Channelize that happiness to mom. Means, hey,
right.
it's you.
Everything that we receive
Yeah.
is the gift of the mother. And
Yeah.
this is why Sri Sharda Devi says, in time you will come to understand that even suffering is a
Yes,
blessing.
again. Yes, it is. It certainly is. Big time.
So thank you, Gaurav. Thank you for all of that.
Yep.
Anything else from anyone? All right. I'm going to read two quotes. One is from Walt Whitman. It's from his poem, Freedom and Law. Freedom and Law. And I'll read that, and then I'll read a quote from Bob Dylan. But first, the Walt Whitman from his poem, Freedom and Law. Oh, while I live, to be the ruler of life, not a slave, to meet life as a powerful conqueror, and nothing exterior to me will ever take command of me. I'll read it again. Oh, while I live, to be ruler of life, to be the ruler. Oh, while I live, to be the ruler of life, not a slave, to meet life as a powerful conqueror, and nothing exterior to me will ever take command of me. Walt Whitman. And then Bob Dylan from his album Rough and Rowdy Ways, the song Make My Own Version of You. These are the last lines. Make my own version of you, that is the divine presence. Make a version of the divine presence that he can understand and be with, interact with. Make my own version of you, the last lines are, I'll do it with laughter and do it with tears. Do it with laughter and do it with tears. So I really like that verse from Walt Whitman's poem and Bob Dylan's quote, because they speak to the humanity of ourselves. Oh, while I live, to be the ruler of life, not a slave. Nothing exterior to me will take command of me. Does anyone have anything to say about that Whitman quote and how it affects them, how they feel about what he says?
I'll jump in here, because I think, let's see, with Whitman, I mean, something else he said that, I mean, all these things relate is about dismissing what insults your soul. And you know, talking about the Atman and our attention and what is paying attention is, you know, we're just using words again to talk about something that we really don't understand, but we want to. When you were doing the guided thing, which wasn't a really meditation, it was more of just an experiment, I think, just to when you said about the happiest, I think that was the first thing, and then the most frightening, and I honestly kind of went, what? And I got up and walked away from the computer because asking people in a quiet state to, you know, think of and give their attention to something their most frightening can be very traumatic for some of us. And but this relates, I'm not just complaining. As far as, you know, the Atman is what is observing all of this. There's something else that turns our attention to things, I think. It's not the Atman. The Atman is just witnessing. But it's external stuff, to me, that turns our attention to these different things. And our limited free will as embodied beings allows us to choose, to an extent, how to respond to the things that are trying to get our attention. And in that moment, someone was trying, you know, I was filled with my happiest, which, by the way, was this moment. And then when you went to the most frightening, I just made the Walt Whitman decision to dismiss it and walk away and leave the sound on, but just not be sitting there inviting that into my space. That was my conscious way of choosing what to let have my attention or into my mind or spirit space in that moment. And also with the earliest childhood, I mean, had the sound on and was listening, but from a distance so that I didn't have to be pulled into it. Because one of my earliest childhood memory is also kind of traumatic and problematic. And I don't think that's unusual or rare. But again, I think, the Atman was just sitting back, having a beer and watching all this. And it doesn't care. And it doesn't not care because it's mean or doesn't, it's not its job. It's not attached. We are. And as long as I'm in this body, I have to say, attached to only letting in what at any given time, what I can handle without being knocked off balance, because we're embodied beings. We get knocked off balance. And for me, learning the things that bring me joy and the things that don't, and the things that maybe don't, but I can work on, I'm willing to work on. But if it's really difficult stuff and it's not an appropriate time to invite it in and work on it, I'll say no. And I can't relate that to the Atman. I mean, to me, that's my more conscious part of my embodied Cindy Craven self. But that is all I have to say, which was an awful lot.
Well, thank you, dear. And as always, a very informed and very thoughtful discourse on what you experienced and why you experienced it the way you did. So excellent. How can we disagree with anything that you said, so that there be no misunderstandings amongst us? Anything
Y'all
else from
disagree. People can disagree. This is my little old tiny corner of the vast and unlimited universe, which is what makes it interesting.
Indeed. Anything else from anyone?
Brother Gaurav again, just
Yes,
one quick thing. I wasn't able to do the guided meditation, but I meditate every day, and I meditate on Divine Mother's name. And more I get into it, I think I'm the happiest right now
very well.
in my entire life. I think it's just, I cannot explain the joy I get when I'm meditating alone, and the silence. It's beautiful, and it's nothing. Means I cannot express. Literally, there's no word for it.
Of course not.
I cannot. You got to experience
Because
it.
it's not something of the mind.
Nope.
Mind is where words are.
Totally.
And this is what Jesus was speaking about when he said that we come to the peace that passeth all understanding. Understanding is made of words and concepts. The peace that passeth all that has nothing whatsoever. And that's what I was talking about. When we learn to identify with the witness awareness, and we sit in that witness seat and simply see what is going on in front of us as something that arises and passes away, then we're able to sink into the silence that yields that peace that passes all understanding, and indeed relieves us of the terrible wheel of rebirth and death, if indeed we experience it as that.
And the more I get into it, it's like addictive. Means I want to be doing it. And that's means I don't know if it's addictive, or I don't know. I'm gravitating towards it all the time.
Well, Gaurav, it's as Sri Krishna says in the Gita, the practice of meditation is sour toil at first, and then nectar, amrita. The nectar of immortality is indeed The nectar of immortality is what he's speaking of. The nectar of immortality is indeed addictive.
Yeah. Well, I certainly can see there's something there.
Thank you, Guru. Anyone else?
Brother Shankara.
Yes, Janaki.
I just wanted to affirm what Cindy said. I agree. When you said, now, who do you think was causing your attention to shift? I mean, the last thing that I would have thought of was Saguna Atman. I mean, that wouldn't have come to my mind at all.
Mhm.
I felt like it was my mind, my left brain, even the much maligned left brain, scanning memories, trying to find something that would be compatible with the request.
Mhm.
I don't have any memories from babyhood or tiny childhood. I just don't. And I don't really feel like I'm ever super happy or super scared. I'm just kind of level. So, I come back to, you have always taught, as far as I have picked up, the idea that you can control your attention. That's the only thing you can control is your attention. And so there's a you here, and that you is not the Saguna Atman, I don't think. It's a spiritual practice and a discipline to say, okay, where is my attention going, and can I bring it back to the great thought?
Well, Janaki, how can anyone disagree with someone who is as sincere and authentic as yourself? You are speaking from the truth that you know. This idea of the two aspects of the Saguna Atman is derived directly from what Sri Krishna says in the Gita. It's not my idea. It is his discussion of. It's in a chapter called "The Field and Its Knower," and and then in the very last chapter of the Gita, the 18th chapter. So these things are if I spoke of my own experience, well, my own experience would be at variance with some of the things that Sri Krishna says. The only explanation I have for that is that I remain ignorant and Krishna was not. But I don't accuse myself for the ignorance or say that there's something wrong. That is the nature of Maya. That is the nature of Shakti. And as I said, that controller of the witness awareness is the Shakti or Divine Mother aspect of ourselves. That is the controller of your awareness. That's what Sri Krishna says, and I'm taking in that in relating some of what he says to what it says in the Chandi, the hymns to the Divine Mother.
So is it, so you're talking about awareness, but also where you're directing the awareness?
Yes, exactly. And who's doing it?
So,
And you are not the doer, according to Sri Krishna. It is the gunas, which are the instruments of the Divine Mother or Shakti, that are the controller.
so what exactly is spiritual practice and spiritual discipline?
Understanding what the meaning of these terms and coming into that witness seat firmly, where you can be, as you characterize yourself, level and calm, not so much pulled this way or that way. That's exactly how Whitman describes himself at the end of Song of Myself. He says the words very like that. Apart from the pulling and hauling stands what I am.
Okay.
So that,
Brother Shankara,
yes, dear.
I want to jump in here too. This is before you recognize what it is that makes us remember what affected us deeply, whether it is something sad, something happy, something frightening, and you gave the word witness awareness. That is, before you said that, this thing come to my mind, and that is from Chandogya Upanishad, in which there is a dialogue between Father Aruni and son Shvetaketu. This is very interesting, very similar to your question. What makes us remember? I mean, how do we go back to the times and what is exactly the process? So here is a very short example or question that Father Aruni asked his son. He's teaching about Atman, and the son is too young or not as aware of what is Atman. So Father Aruni asked him, son, go bring a banyan fruit to me. Yes, sir, the son said. Now cut it up. Yes, I will cut it up, sir. Now tell me, what do you see in that? So the son tries to locate what is in that. And he is a very honest young boy. And he says, nothing, father, I see nothing. And then father says, that exactly is what is the finest essence of the fruit. So that is who you are. Tat Tvamasi, what you do not see. Usually there is nothing there. But what you call nothing is the whole thing about this tree and how fruit appears on the tree. So that is what he explains as the finest essence. And that strikes me, that what we are referring to, what you call witness awareness, is something unpalpable, something that you cannot put your finger on, or even rack your brain, which we all try to recall. So yes, psychologically, you can call it a mental recovery process. But spiritually, with that terms, we can call it, what is Atman? That finest essence, mysterious. We cannot define it. We cannot even understand, but we can experience it.
Yes, exactly. But
that's what
you're absolutely right, Uma. It is not a thing.
Yes.
It is not a. It is. There is no thing there.
Yeah.
There is no thing that we can, as you said, put your finger on.
Yeah.
That is the Atman.
Right.
And for one thing, it's not really resident within the body, in the sense that that this little blue being the size of a thumb is resident in the spiritual center of the heart. Well, the spiritual center of the heart, as it turns out, according to Pim van Lommel, is not within the body.
Yeah.
Point to it as if it were, but it's not. And so, in any event, thank you, Uma, as always, for these observations from the Chandogya. That is quite a conversation for anybody who wants to read the Chandogya. It's beautifully translated in Breath of the Eternal, which is Swami Prabhavananda's
Yes.
translation of the Upanishads.
I use that olive, how do you pronounce? Oliville, Oliver's Upanishads.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, dears. Anything else from anyone? We've gone past the hour, which we're more than we're perfectly content to do. But, I notice that some people are dropping away because they have other things to do. Is there anything that you would like to offer or contribute? We'd love to hear it.
Brother Shankara, this is Haima.
Yes, Haima.
I'm just responding to the Walt Whitman's quote on the Karma Yoga worksheet. He said, "Oh, while I live to be the ruler of life, to me, the ruler of life is knowing myself. That means I develop cosmic intelligence. And to meet life as a powerful conqueror, yes, then you don't become bait to anyone. You're not a bait anymore.
Yes.
You are in control of your life, and nothing exterior will bother us. Like you said, mudfish, I call it Teflon mind. Everything slips away like lotus leaf. Actually, Walt Whitman quoted the Karma Yoga in a different way. He quoted the Karma Yoga exactly the way it's supposed to be. Then you meet life in a gentle and powerful way as a conqueror. Once you conquer myself, I feel like I conquer. I understand the cosmology better, understand the people around better, the world better. You don't let it go through your skin anymore. Nothing becomes personal.
Very good, dear.
Thank you, Brother Shankara.
And please do recall that the thing concludes with this line from Bob Dylan from his song, Make My Own Version of You. That is to say, make his own version of the divine presence that he can understand and relate to. And he goes through this. This is quite a song, if you listen to it, quite a process that he talks about. And the last line of the song is, I'll do it with laughter and do it with tears. This is not an easy task, but we can do it with joy, and we will occasionally do it with tears. Every saint that speaks to us from the pages of Love Poems from God speaks of their times of tears. That there is, there's these, whether it's tears for themselves or tears for others, as in Hafiz's My Sweet, Crushed, Fallen Angel. So we'll do it with laughter and we'll do it with tears. But we'll do it because that which is within us, if we pursue this path of spiritual development, if we're sincere and regular and determined in our practice, we will come to understand more and more and more of what it is that Sri Krishna and the speaker in the Chandogya Upanishad and the other Upanishads, Yajnavalkya and the Great Forest Upanishad, the Brihadaranyaka, we understand what they mean when they say that there is only the self, only the divine presence. And everything is in one way or another somehow a manifestation of that or beyond manifestation. And something that is no thing. Which seems paradoxical, but there it is. Anything else from anyone before we close?
Shankara,
Yes, dear.
I want to go. I want to go way back to when you were talking about samskaras,
Yes.
and you said that the samskaras were just one of the three things that transmigrate.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about the other two?
Well, the samskaras are part of the mind which transmigrates. It is the two outer layers of our body, or koshas as they're called, sheaths. The gross body, the food body as it's called, and the energy body, they pass away, they drop away when we lose this body. The subtle body, which is what transmigrates, is made of the mind, the intellect, and the causal body or bliss body. Those are the three parts of us, the three sheaths that the inner sheaths that but it isn't you. It isn't that Lori will transmigrate. Those things that have made up the intellect, the mind, the intellect, and the causal or bliss body of Lori will lose that identity with the food and energy body, but they will take a new identity, a new garment, as Sri Krishna calls it in chapter 2 of the Gita. The garment is created by the Atman, by the energy of the Atman, the Saguna energy of the Atman, to manifest then the mental impressions, the mind, the intellect, the discriminating faculty, and the bliss or causal body, that which is closest to the divine presence, so to speak, within us. Those will make a new garment. Does that get it, Lori?
I'll have to kind of.
We can talk about it privately.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Actually, that's what I was trying to get at, but what I'm not understanding, but I think your answer was it's desire that holds that body or the garment together. Is that correct?
Yes, precisely. It is any form of desire at all, except the spiritual desire and its variants, the mumukshutvam, or yearning for freedom, and yearning for a qualified teacher. Those are not desires that will keep you bound to the body.
The other thing I felt was attachment to certain kinds of ideas or aversions or opinions or judgments and things like that. Like if the mind is fixated on certain things, then these are like accompany you. Is that the?
Well, these are mental impressions. Yes. These are the mental impressions, Rajiv. The attractions, the aversions, the 8 fetters. They're all part of that mental makeup. If you read the not you personally, but if one reads the little appendix at the back of Swami Prabhuvananda's published book of the Bhagavad Gita, it's called The Cosmology of the Gita, and it explains very nicely how these things relate and how just what you're talking about is what results in the manifestation of the last of the cosmic principles.
Just some reflections. Maybe it's connected in a way, but I was seeing like a havan, like a a place where you have some wood and then they burn a fire, put offerings like ghee and stuff and like clarified butter and stuff like that. And I was seeing like the way you offer that is like there's like a mudra that they do, and I researched about it, and it's apana mudra, which means that it's excretion. Basically, it's the energy that allows you to excrete the old so that there is space for the new. And I thought, and then like in every religion there is this fire sacrifice, and like somebody might offer cashews and like clarified butter, and maybe we can offer our opinions and judgments and all sorts of attachments in that sacrificial fire. I don't know. These are like very random stuff. Maybe there's a science to this.
Well, that is what a homa fire, Rajiv, that is what a homa fire is. A homa fire is that sacrificial fire into which you offer everything. And that's why I quoted that little prayer that the congregation chants in unison as they offer everything to the fire of Brahman. All become oblations to the fire of Brahman. So that's exactly that whole sacrificial fire. And symbolically, money is offered, food is offered, all of the things of life are symbolically offered to the homa fire. And then finally, no matter what I may have done, said, and so on, that's all also offered to the fire. So all of our actions and their fruits, no matter how generated or what their results are, they're all offered as oblations to the fire of Brahman. So you're right. That is that sacrificial fire.
And then there's this abhishekam, and I was thinking about it. What exactly is abhishekam? It's actually, so one is the sacrifice, when you are emptying yourself so that there is space, because if a glass is like full, then you cannot put anything inside it. So it's emptying yourself, and then abhishekam, or like pouring of water. Sometimes what they do is they pour water and milk and all sorts of stuff on like idols and things like that. It's maybe it's the divine energy that actually pours and enters you. It's Shakti who sort of gives her great energies to help you all.
Well, Rajiv, if we take the attitude, as Sri Krishna tells us, that that the only thing that is the divine energy. Everything that we experience is some manifest or unmanifest. We are experiencing the unmanifest even though we don't know it. It's that. So it's only the divine energy that is all that there is. God alone is the doer, and God alone exists. This is, so how to know this, how to come to know this in the way that we understand knowing beyond mind's knowing. So beautifully described by the saints in that book, Love Poems from God. How they came to know that which is beyond the mind's knowing. Very early on, someone mentioned the knowledge of the heart. Yes, that's exactly it. Anything else from anyone? All right, my dears. How grand it is to gather this way and celebrate ourselves as those who are the divine presence and are coming to know that in our own individual ways. We'll do it with laughter and we'll do it with tears. Let there be peace in outer space. Let there be peace in the sky, on the earth, and in the waters. Let there be peace in the herbs, the plants, and the trees. May the gods be peaceful. May the whole universe be pervaded by peace. Let this infinite, universal peace prevail throughout my being. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, 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 and blessed beneficence be unto us and to all beloved beings everywhere. Hari Om Tat Sat. Oh, dearly beloved Lord, make it so. Jai Shri Guru Maharaj Ji Ki Jai, Durga, Durga, Durga. May we be safe. May we be healthy. May we be cheerful. May we have peace of mind. And may we know we are always in the loving and protective embrace of our divine being, of the divine being as our mother and father. Hari Om Tat Sat. Any final thought or comment from anyone?
As always, thank you so much.
You're most welcome, Lori. Anyone else? Anything?
One of the things about like filling your glass, like you got to empty out that to accept something good. I think it's more like you keep pouring something good in it, and all the garbage is going to come out anyways.
Well, this is the image that Sri Ramakrishna uses. You take a bucket of dirty water,
Yeah, and then
you
you keep
slowly put in clean water, and ultimately you have only clean water.
Yeah.
And then he also uses there's some sort of preparation that was a precipitate in
Yes.
in the days of Sri Ramakrishna, and you would put that in the water, and it would precipitate out all the impurities, and you could pour off the pure water. So these are all metaphors. So many water metaphors.
Brother Shankara?
Yes, Swayam.
Yeah, sorry, my microphone was kind of not working, so it's a late question, but until the final merging with Brahman, does the transmigrating subtle body have individual boundaries?
I don't understand the question. Individual boundaries. What does that mean?
So, like say Swayam, passes on, the body is left behind, but the sanskaras and the subtle body that travels, is it limited by all the accumulations of this individual manifestation, even like subsequently?
The being that is incarnated as a result of the energy the momentum that went forward will experience the boundaries that you experienced. Yes, So then this is so beautifully explained by Swami Vivekananda in the last pages. There's a section in which he discusses what Divine Mother does with us, bringing us along from our self-imposed ignorance to our desire to be free. And the limitations are there until they're gone. The boundaries or upadis are there until they're gone. But you don't need to concern yourself about that, dear. Just consider this your last lifetime as an embodied soul. Just consider that to be the case and make that your goal and your prayer. And there's no reason to think that it won't happen. There's every reason to think that it will. So you don't have to concern yourself about what you're leaving for as a heritage for the next embodiment. You won't
Thank
know
you.
anything about it anyway.
That's true. Thank you. And which book is that? Swamiji's Raj Yoga?
Yes, it's at the very end.
Okay.
If you write me an email, I think I can find it and send it to you.
I have the book, Brother Shankara. So
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, very good. Read the last few pages of chapter 4.
Okay, will do. Thank you.
He'll talk about what Holy Mother did, what the Divine Mother does. She takes us by the hand, he says. You'll recognize
Which book was that again?
it. It's Raja Yoga by Swami Vivekananda.
Okay, thanks.
Namaste, Brother Shankar. Namaste, everybody.
Yes.
Wonderful class, brother. I was driving and I couldn't share, but just wonderful thoughts by everybody. And thank you for that explanation on the different bodies and which transmigrate the further 3 layers. I just want to share, some piece of information which I read tied to Swayamji's question about the Sukshma Sharira or the Sukshma Sharira and the Karana Sharira, which is a causal body, the subtle body and the causal body. And there's a person called Yogi Ananda, and he's very advanced. And so all of the yogis do experience different bodies very well, very subtly, but they do not talk about it. But Yogi Ananda ji talks about it, and he says that this subtle body, once you, now he is an advanced soul, but for us, there is a limitation, obviously, because the subtle body is tied to us all the way till the end, like Swamiji was talking about. But what he said is that with the yogis, when they travel outside the body, they take the subtle body and they will leave the subtle body at certain point, because if they want to go further, they have to park that subtle body at a certain realm, and then they take only the Karana Sharira, which is a causal body. And then that goes and merges into the Anandmay Kosha, which is the blissful body. And so that was something very interesting and to know. But I'm sure all these great yogis, including Swamiji, Thakur and Ma, they have experienced all this, but it's not very clearly. But he clearly mentions that limitation of, even if you are a living, a realized soul, that subtle body has a limitation and it has to be kept at a certain realm. So that I thought to just share.
Oh yes, the subtle body dissolves when illumination is achieved. To become kaivalya or independent, you're independent of all limitation. And so the subtle body is left behind as well. And these things that you discussed, Shailesh, yes, they're well known, and they're discussed in the third chapter of Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, the chapter titled Powers.
Mm-hmm. I see.
Brother Gaurav, again, a little, I would say something just came up. It just occurred to me. So basically, your karma is kind of maintained as a ledger, like in a business. So pretty much it's credit and debit going on. And that is what influences your samskaras for next birth and whatnot. Am I right on that?
Yes, it's the goddess in charge of that, according to Holy Mother,
Yeah.
is called Destiny,
Yeah.
and she does indeed keep a book of record.
Yeah.
This is what Holy Mother says.
Yeah.
She says it in this sense that when you do spiritual practices, Destiny herself strikes from the book of record
Yeah, Mother
what is
told
written there about you.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else from anyone? Thank you very much for these last thoughts and comments.
Yes, brother. Thank you. Something really snapped into place for me about the desire, because when I've gone into certain states, I've felt what those desires were.
Mm-hmm.
And those will eventually be satisfied, and that'll be the end of them. Is that correct?
That is, yes, that's one way of saying it. They can be renounced or satisfied. But Sri Ramakrishna says, in the Kali Yuga, much better to satisfy them, because we're so bound to our senses in the Kali Yuga that if we don't satisfy them, they'll continue to haunt us. But yes, they will be satisfied.
Thank you, brother.
He said, you've come to the mango grove, you've come to the mango grove, eat the mango. All right. If there's nothing else.
Sometimes, and maybe there's is there like a fine line between what sort of desires to satisfy versus not? Because sometimes, like, it just keeps on increasing. You know, it's like you go in
No,
a direction and
Rajiv, it never increases. You only become aware. The desires do not increase. You only become more aware of the desires that you already have. Because the desires are made from the samskaras by the gunas. So they don't go on multiplying. I mean, if you deliberately set out to do that, well then yes, you can increase them. But it's our addiction to our desires that is the issue. Then if they seem to be going on increasing, it's that your awareness of them, which is an auspicious thing, that you're more aware of your desires. Desire is nothing more, Swami Prabhupada says, than a restlessness of the mind. The restlessness of the mind attaches itself to some samskara that is already there. And that manifests as a desire.
Thank you, brother.
Uh-huh. All right, dears. Our next opportunity to get together will be on Tuesday, when we'll study the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. And our reader is Homa. Then on Wednesdays, we study Bhagavad Gita, and our reader is Swayam. And then on Saturdays, we study the book How to Know God, which is Swami Prabhupada's interpretation of and commentary on Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. And then next Sunday, we will take up the topic Does a karma yogi need to meditate? And we'll discuss that question. All right, away we go. Till next time.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you all. What a joy.